parents' property in Orlando, Florida. About 1 year ago, this was just a lawn, totally inedible, just all ornamental plants. My parents have had this for probably about 10 years. And when I was living here, I worked in the back just propagating plants, but my parents wouldn't let me grow anything in the front because they wanted it really attractive. And my mom grew up on a farm, so she was trying to distance herself as much as possible from growing food because she was totally sick of that kind of lifestyle where it's, at least in her generation, constant labor, requires a ton of energy, there's no free time, and she was just tired of that. So trying to explain to her with permaculture, you set up systems where the initial labor is mostly in design and planting. Once you get everything planted, if you've done it right, it's just productive, you know, throughout the year. Stuff will die back, new plants will come in, but it'll keep producing, and all you have to do is harvest. So, and they had landscaping people come in anyway and take care of their ornamental plants. So the idea was to switch all their ornamental stuff with stuff they could eat, so that they would no longer have to, I mean, they eat a lot of salads and cooked greens, so that was primarily, I wanted to stop them from having to buy that stuff and just have it out in the lawn. So anytime they would normally do yard work, they could just go out and, you know, every time they're trimming their hedges or whatever, they could take those leaves in and cook them up or eat them in their salads. And I wanted to have a system where they wouldn't have to take care of it, so there'd be actually no work involved except for just harvesting.
Aimed right at it.
Don't say permaculture, it's copyrighted. As it gets towards fall, I'm going to start seeding a bunch of nitrogen fixing stuff like clovers and everything. Subterranean clovers and red clovers and white clovers. Because all these plants in here will die back, and I don't want bare ground to ever appear, so I don't want any soil loss or loss of soil life. So when all the sweet potato and everything dies back, the clover hopefully will take its place. And then in the summer, the clover will die back, and all that really nitrogen-rich roots and everything will fertilize the other vegetables as they emerge from their roots. And I have like chicories and dandelions and just a bunch of self-seeding plants in here that I also seed this way. Hopefully, eventually, the soil will be so saturated with seeds that I won't have to do it anymore, and stuff will just grow and self-seed. And anytime there's a disturbance, instead of a random weed or any toxic plant that I don't want popping up, something that I've actually purposely put in the garden will come up to fill that gap. It's interesting. So we don't have a human or a toilet out here, but we have the next best thing, since most of your nutrients come out through your urine anyway. It's basically a drip pipe. It's a 5-gallon bucket, a PVC pipe with holes in it that are gradually larger as it goes down, so it's going to distribute the urine. You mix it with water, 9 parts water, 1 part urine. Fill that up, and then that goes all the way down the bed. Instead of having to take your bucket full of urine and water each plant individually, they just have to fill this up, and then it waters that bed. And that at least, reclaims some of the nutrient loss that they're getting when they eat plants in the garden. Ideally, everything would go back in the garden. That'd make it completely sustainable, but this is the next best thing. Gradually, I want to have it so it's more than just salads and greens and actually put in some staple crops. So the idea is having overstory trees, like macadamia nut tree, and there's an olive tree, and there's an avocado tree. Just overstory stuff that's going to provide the bulk of food. So, you know, my dad's kind of paranoid about the economy collapsing and whether they're going to have food eventually. So having stuff like that they could actually live off of. I mean, you got all your vitamins and minerals from the greens, some protein, but your bulk calories probably be from cassava, sweet potato, and then, you know, your tree crops. So the idea is, you know, to have plantains for, you know, starches, cassava, sweet potato, some taro, and then, you know, your fats from macadamia nut tree and avocado, and I'd like to find something that has a fatty acid composition similar to coconut, but there are not too many things around here that produce copious amounts like a coconut would. But that'll be the next step, just getting a lot of saturated fats. So my name is Marabou Thomas. Been obsessed with permaculture for about 10 years. Only became obsessed with permaculture when I came to America. I was born in Nairobi, Kenya, grew up there. Should have learned a lot of stuff about gardening, but didn't. But trying to make up for it here, just one experiment at a time.